Welcome to another episode of Knowledge is Power, where we're here to empower you on particular subject, giving you education from our expert team. Today, we are going to talk about health and well-being, which is something that is truly valuable for us. And have you ever tried a diet and it doesn't work? And you wonder, is it just you or is it just the diet? Why is it not feeding? So today I have Dr. Haley here to actually share with you her experience and understanding the truth behind the popular diet and weight loss strategy, understanding why it doesn't work and why it doesn't work for you in particular. So, Dr. Haley, thank you so much for being here today. Please share with us a little bit more about your background.
Thanks, Martha. So I'm Dr. Haley. I'm an assistant professor in biomedical science with over 15 years experience in obesity research, metabolism, understanding why women struggle to lose weight and keep it off. So everything from diet, surgical weight loss, understanding what's going in the body, the genetics, the psychology. So I've studied all these, even the relationship between stress and weight. I've run clinical trials around these, as well as working in the lab as a scientist, because that's what I am. But I also do wellness consultancy for busy professional women just like you, to live a healthier life. And I get to the root cause of why other diets have failed for you or interventions. I bring the facts and education to you to understand your body better, so you can optimize your outcomes, especially when it comes to weight management, because that's the number one reason people come to me. I'll show you the science, and it's not a one size fits all approach. So, step by step, we'll unpeel the layers of what might be holding you back, why you're doing decades of yo-yo dieting, because I'm here to tell you it's not just because of you. You're not a failure. There's things going on in the body that are against us. So I'm going to discuss some of those today.
Honestly, our audience here who have tried a yo-yo diet, if I have 10 more fingers, I will put them out. It is such frustrating strategy when we're talking about weight, menopause, and then how our bodies is changing. It is so good to hear from a scientist, a doctor who actually have specialized in this area to tell us what is the right information and why it worked for everyone else that we see, but it doesn't work for us. Okay. I look forward for your presentation. I'll give the stage to you now. I'll run to the background and have fun, and I'll be back at the end of it. If anyone's got any questions or comment, feel free to put it into the chat box. We'll be answering you that later. Thank you.
Thanks, Martha. I'm just going to share my screen now. Okay, so I've titled my talk today, Uncovering the Truth Behind Popular Diets and Weight Loss Strategies. And the reason I came up with this is because often especially with social media these days, a lot of women are confused about what actually works when it comes to trying to lose weight or optimize health. Are you going to try the juice cleanse or the keto diet, or what about latest intermittent fasting? And sometimes misinformation, or you get an Insta famous person or a celebrity trying a new diet intervention and getting really amazing results, or it even might be the latest weight loss drugs, or you might be considering bariatric surgery. But what's really the science and the evidence behind weight loss? Why do they fail? Why do you regain weight? Why are you so damn hungry when you try to lose weight? I'm going to talk to you about these today, and might put things into context that sometimes we're missing important pieces of the puzzle, and it can lead to really effects on our body image, self-confidence. We feel like a failure. And I think as busy women, busy professionals, mums, wives, women in general, especially if you're going through perimenopause or menopause, we've got enough stress in our lives. And so I'm here today to really break things down for you so you can start succeeding and changing your mindset around this. So as I said before, I've had 15 years experience in academic research. I first started really growing up, my passion for food, coming from an Italian family, as well as playing a lot of sport, intrigued by how the body works and how, what we put in our mouths, how everyone is so different in how they respond. So in addition to my academic and career and business role as consultant, I'm also a mother. I'm implementing holistic approaches to the women that I work with, not just around diet or exercise, showing them you don't have to do constant exercise in order to manage your weight or lose weight. But, I call it embracing life, getting this lifestyle rhythm that's going to last beyond, a 4 or 8 week diet. Okay. So you don't want to end up back where you started. You go so well a few weeks into the diet, and then things start getting a little bit tricky. So we want to meet people or meet you where you are, because everybody's different. You might not want to give up chocolate, you might not want to give up wine, you might love pasta. Okay, so it's really important to keep that in mind, to keep those things when you're trying to look at making long-term sustainable goals or efforts. And we know the number one factor that people struggle with is dietary adherence. Okay, and as I go through my talk, you'll realize it doesn't really matter what diet that you choose. Really, none is better than the other. Okay, so I'm telling you the end of the story first, but I'm going to go into the reasons why. So if I can ask you a question, what is your biggest struggle at the moment? Okay, so getting really clear on your goals is super important. So is it how to lose weight, or I want to lose weight? Do I want more energy? Do I want to manage my menopause symptoms? How do I stop that weight gain or changes in body composition? What I mean by that, how do I stop getting fat around the tummy? How do I build more muscle? How do I slow down the aging process? Okay, so the number one thing I see women mostly struggling with, obviously body image, self-confidence, but they come to me and, they want to lose weight. They've been doing it for decades, trying every diet under the sun. Okay, but, why have these things failed previously? And I'm here to explain a little bit about that. So, whether you've just come off or whether you're currently trying the latest fasting diet or intermittent fasting or doing a juice cleanse, when we think about weight loss, we often think this is like a long road. Okay, we're starting our journey and we feel like we've been on it forever. I think the quick fixes or the sprint, I think this is where a lot of people fall down. Okay, we want to take that diet pill. We want to lose 10 kilos or 10, in a few weeks. I even heard the other day, someone 10 centimeters in 4 weeks. Like, we've got to put things into perspective. Whilst you can lose weight, and a lot of people can lose weight, you don't think about what happens once you stop that intervention. Okay, you got the weight off for an event, whether it be a wedding, someone's birthday, a holiday or a trip away. What are we going to do, once we stop? We think about losing weight. We think, okay, we've got to make lifestyle choices. Do we have to reduce stress? Our cortisol's up. Maybe this is why I can't lose weight. Oh, I'm not sleeping very well. Maybe if I got better sleep, or my sleep routine, or I stopped snacking in the evening, maybe this is the reason why I can't lose weight. Why is that person able to lose weight, but I can't? Okay. Do I need to eat less calories? Do I need to have more fiber, more protein, less fat? Is my meal timing off? Do I need to skip breakfast, or do I need to include breakfast? Do I need to take supplements or weight loss pills? How do I track my progress? Do I use the latest app? Do I keep a diet diary? Do I weigh myself daily? Do I need to drink more water? So, if you look at that baby's face, you're like, oh my goodness, it can be very overwhelming. So where do you start when you're trying to lose weight or better manage your health and wellness? So we talked about goals. We're here to play the long game, and I'm very upfront with you about this. We know that most people, even with 8% body weight loss, will regain it within 2 to 5 years. Okay, so what can you do to optimize that so you're not going to be going, this weight cycling? And when people say, most of us have dieted, about I think 1 in 2 or over 50%. I know these are statistics from the US, have been on a diet at least one point in their time. Most women, it can be conscious of their weight their whole life. Okay, so when we think about weight loss, we often turn to lifestyle or behavioral interventions. Diet, reducing calories is our first point. But more recently, we know with a number of weight loss, or they're called anti-obese medications, AMOs, the latest weight loss drugs, people are turning to them for better weight management. Okay, in Australia, in the US, globally, 1 in 8 people are overweight or obese. 60% are overweight or obese. Okay, so, and why this is a problem is because when you're accumulating more fat, especially around that tummy or central region, that is increasing your risk for chronic diseases. Okay, so diabetes, heart disease. So that's what's the problem with carrying excess fat. It's detrimental to health. Okay, mortality risk increases, risk for chronic diseases, poor quality of life. A lot of mental health, depression is also associated with having higher body mass index, but it is being driven by the fat. So current weight loss treatments, which are real popular, are obviously your GLP-1 receptor agonists, and I'll talk about that. So Ozempic, semaglutide, and I'll talk about how they function. There's also a number of other weight loss drugs as well on the market. And then some of you might be considering bariatric surgery, and there's a range of different surgical procedures that you can have, some reversible and some irreversible, and they differ in terms of the amount of weight, same like the weight loss drugs, same with lifestyle interventions on how much weight you're going to actually lose, okay? You need to really consider the short and long-term effects, whether it be diet, whether it be weight loss medications or surgery, because they all differ, okay? And, the more research that's done around these strategies, the better understanding we have of the long-term effects. Currently, bariatric surgery is considered the gold standard for weight loss intervention, but it's not feasible for everyone. I think it's like 1% of people. Okay, you have to have certain criteria that's met, including the certain BMI, as well as having one or more comorbidities or related conditions, might be type 2 diabetes, associated with carrying excess weight. Okay, to make you eligible for the criteria, it's also very expensive. Okay, and then some people just don't want to undergo a surgical procedure. And in some of the research I've done has been looking at weight loss variability, because there is around 15 to 35% of patients who undergo bariatric surgery who don't have successful weight loss outcomes, and some they don't respond as well as others in terms of the amount of weight they lose, and most people will regain some weight. So because our audience is women here, I wanted to really talk about, is weight gain inevitable as you get over 40? As you're hitting midlife, which is between 40 and 65, is it inevitable that we gain weight? The short answer is yes, but no more than what a typical adult gains each year. So between 0.4 and 0.7 kilograms a year, there's evidence shown, and these are big, large scale studies following women over years, and they've actually midlife women shown that you're putting up to 0.7 kilos per year. So you could end up putting on 10 kilos in that period during midlife. Okay, so the things that you need to consider, and probably is going to be really nice for you, I'll tell you the evidence around that. Yes, you have hormonal fluctuations going through perimenopause or menopause. You get declining estrogen levels. This starts even happening sometimes in your 30s. And these effects can happen on the brain even 5 years before the physical symptoms, such as hot flushes, vasomotor symptoms, sweats, restless legs. Okay, estrogen, yes, it's important for maintaining muscle, but once we hit 30, our muscle is degrading at 3 to 8% every decade. Okay, so this weight gain that happens during midlife, yes, we've got hormonal changes going on, but physical activity levels, which go down, and lifestyle factors play an independent role. So that means that lifestyle is important for preventing the weight gain, and I'll talk to you about a few strategies around that. So we've covered weight gain, but what is the problem with gaining weight during midlife? Okay, so if you look at this here, we've got muscle mass. Okay, so the amount of muscle that we have in our body is really important for maintaining our metabolic rate. Okay, so if we have less muscle, we're not exercising, we're losing muscle, okay, we're also going to start gaining weight, and that usually comes in the form of fat. Okay, so we're getting fatter, we're losing muscle, metabolic rate down, we're gaining weight. And this is so increased visceral fat, which just means around your organs, due to also declining estrogen. We also reduction in metabolic rate. Okay, we're doing less exercise, we're less active, we're also going to be burning less energy under resting conditions. So this is the perfect mix for weight gain. Okay, and I've just put this in here too as a definition around what the perimenopause to menopause transition sort of looks like. It can span sometimes over 10 years. Most women will go through it around 51 years of age. And this, the 1 year either side of late menopause transition and early postmenopause is where often, you do get these changes in, I call it body composition. So you're getting basically more fat, less muscle. You can also, post-menopause, you're getting reductions in the amount of bone or bone mineral density. So this is the perfect mix for cardiometabolic disease. And what I mean by that is diseases that are linked to obesity that, increase heart disease, increase type 2 diabetes, increase hypertension, okay, increased gastroesophageal reflux disease. These are all very common diseases that are associated with this excess weight. Okay, so yes, weight management is essential, and getting good lifestyle, choices into your everyday to prevent this weight gain and chronic disease, just to be healthier. Okay. So I want to talk now about the considerations of weight loss. When it comes to a weight loss intervention, we typically have three points to consider. Most interventions will focus on losing weight, but they fail, or it's very hard to find an intervention that's going to maintain that weight loss. The third thing is, again, very difficult to prevent regain. Okay, so we've got 3 points to consideration. Most are effective at losing weight. Most don't do a good job of helping you to maintain the weight. And then thirdly, preventing that regain. And as I said before, even with an 8% body weight loss, most people will regain that in at least 2 to 5 years. Okay, so what goes on in the body? Okay, so when we're looking at weight loss, the most common thing is lifestyle interventions. We want to reduce our calories. We want to exercise more in order to create that energy deficit to drive the weight loss. And that weight loss comes in the form mostly of fat that you lose. You do lose a little bit of muscle, which you don't want because you want to keep that metabolic rate. So as soon as you start restricting your calories or reducing your amount of food intake, mainly it's around calories, creating that calorie deficit, which drives the weight loss, you get adaptive physiological responses. So these are responses that happen in the body that will slow down the amount of weight you lose and also encourage you to regain the weight. It's like a famine reaction. Okay, some of these things include you might lose muscle, you might get a decrease in metabolic rate, which means you burn less calories under resting conditions. Your body might become more efficient at burning calories. So you're better at like elite athletes, like marathon runners, they're efficient at burning energy. Your appetite hormones, so you have a range of neuroendocrine hormones that change, and this is some of the targets of these weight loss drugs are looking at these neuroendocrine hormones or transmitters to reduce appetite, suppress hunger. So, that's all kept down. So increase appetite, increase hunger, reduce satiety. These really push you to want to eat more, okay? I've done a lot of work around cortisol. I'm not going to talk too much about it today, the stress hormone, but it is very variable from individual to individual. There is some evidence that higher cortisol is associated with higher BMI, but, I think that's a topic for another day. I'm not going to cover that today. Okay, so we've got all these responses going on in our body when we try to lose weight, okay? And this is what, even when we stop restricting our calories, these hormonal changes, ghrelin is one of them, the growling hunger hormone, this hormone can start increasing even 6 to 12 months after you stop restricting your calories, okay? So encouraging you to regain or that weight rebound, okay? So I've been involved in clinical trials that look at these three components, and we're trying to, yes, optimize weight loss, but also keep the weight off and reduce rebound, okay? But there is not, most of the clinical research looks at weight loss, and it might be short-term, 4, 8, or 12-week interventions, and they don't look at the 3, 6, 12 months, 2 years follow up, okay? So some studies are lacking in these areas. So when we're looking at weight management strategies, I talked about calorie restriction and going on a diet. That's the most common one, okay? We might have tried things like the Atkins diet, high protein diet, shake diets, low carb diets, Mediterranean diet, detox diet, juice diets, cabbage soup diets, you name it, paleo diets, okay? But is there one that works better than the other when we're trying to lose weight? And, people really, especially women, go to extremes to manage their weight or to reduce weight, being strict with diet. But you've got dietary adherence, you've got these physiological adaptive responses going on, and this is what really makes it challenging. Then you throw in genetics. Actually, genetics is 40 to 70% variability between someone's weight is attributed to genetics. You've also got psychosocial factors as well. So when we're looking at popular diets, and this is extracted from the New England Journal of Medicine article, just recently published actually on diets, and it gives a nice summary. I really love this infographic here showing the consumption or the relative contribution of the different, food types. So, you've got the macronutrients, proteins, carbohydrates, lipids. You've got, if you're looking at something like the Mediterranean diet, it is high in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, olive oil and olives. But if you're looking at something like the keto diet, which is, have they even got keto in here? I do talk about keto. Ketogenic Atkins diet here. So they're just looking at macronutrient composition. Usually you're lowering carbohydrates in these diets. You're just changing the composition, lower carbohydrates. You might be increasing fats or increasing protein. So normally with these three macronutrients, proteins, carbs, and fats, you're just changing the composition. The typical Western diet, or what's recommended, is 40% of your energy is coming from carbohydrates, 30% from protein, and 30% from fat. So that's the traditional approach. If you're looking at something like the keto, carbohydrate intake is a lot less, okay? And I'm going to go through that as well. So you've got other approaches, time-restricted eating, intermittent fasting, you've got vegan diets, low-fat diets, so you're changing, again, the macronutrient composition. So I'm going to start with talking about intermittent fasting, because this is a common dietary approach. Celebrities are using it, TikTok, Instagram, people are using it not just to manage their weight, but also to reap the metabolic benefits, okay? So when we look at dietary approach, whether we've got two things happening, it could either be our goal would be weight loss, or the other one might be, I'm feeling so sluggish, I'm tired all the time, my cholesterol's up, my blood pressure, my metabolic profile is not good, okay? So intermittent fasting, the reason or the history behind it is they were studying this as in mice, in rodents, and they found this approach. It was actually for cancer. Every time they did this intervention, that the mice lost weight. So that's how it became about as a weight loss sort of intervention. But then some of the studies starting out, they were more short term, so 4 or 12 weeks. Okay, so yeah, and there's many different approaches, as you can see here. I've just listed them all. So you could do overnight fasting, might be from 10 p.m. the night before to maybe 8 or 7 in the morning. You can have this 16-8 approach. Okay, so where you're fasting for 16 hours a day and eating for 8 hours a day. You can have alternative day fasting, where you're fasting every other day. You've got the 5-2 diet. Michael Mosley's was a big advocate for this. You have things going all the way from 24-hour to 36-hour fasting. So we know with fasting, it's been done for centuries, often for religious reasons. But today, we're looking at it from a weight loss. What are the benefits? What's the evidence versus metabolic benefits? So I will say, so when we're looking at intermittent fasting and the literature around this, so some of the first studies show that it did lead to greater weight loss. But then when you've looked over time, sometimes, 6 or 12 months, it's no more better than a traditional calorie restriction approach. The benefits of doing intermittent fasting or restricting your feeding window within a specific time of the day, some people really find it much easier to, they're not having to count calories, they're not having to count macros, they're just having to focus maybe between eating between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. each day, okay? And this over time leads to consuming less energy, which may be driving that weight loss, okay? And then, the time-restricted feeding, you have a feeding window, so it might be the common one is between 8 and 10 hours a day where you're just consuming all those foods. Mostly, whether you have breakfast versus not breakfast. Most of the interventions now, when you're looking at reducing hunger, increasing satiety, it's better probably to have that breakfast. There was some other evidence saying that, people trying to manage their weight, if you're consuming breakfast, that actually might lead to more calories eaten across the day. I've also been involved in some research where I think the evidence points to, if you're consuming more of your calories earlier in the day, you're going to have reduced hunger across the day. Okay, so it's not just that feeding window or time-restricted eating sometimes that might be better for weight management, but you might also, the amount of meals you eat in the day and when you're distributing those calories across the day. This is another study. This was actually a long-term study published in the New England Journal of Medicine by a Chinese group. And they actually, what they did is they had time-restricted eating plus calorie restriction, and then just traditional calorie restriction approach, because some of the previous studies actually fall down because they don't make the calorie intake the same with the different interventions, which means that the weight loss is probably attributed to them eating less calories, okay, rather than the intervention alone. So what this study actually found, they followed participants, of thousands of, hundreds of participants in this study. There have been larger studies as well, more around the weight loss drugs, showing that over 12 months, one was not superior to the other. Okay, so it is really important to look long-term when you're looking at the clinical trials. And this was a randomized control trial, which is like up there in terms of research evidence. So I wanted to talk about the keto diet because this is a really popular one that I know even I've had people or women reach out to me about what are the benefits of the keto diet, what is it, how is it sustainable, what is it doing? So the intermittent fasting approach, once you get fasting over 16 hours, you're depleting all your muscle and liver glycogen stores, which means then you're flicking that ketogenic switch into where you're metabolizing or burning more fat. Okay, so your brain can use glucose, but it can also use ketone bodies, which are produced through this process of ketosis. If you're not fasting for long enough, or if you're not changing the composition of the diet to having more fat and less carbohydrates, you're not going to get to that metabolic state. Okay, so remember before I said about the composition of macronutrients in the keto diet, it's about 5% carbohydrate, okay, 75 to 80% fat, and 20% protein. Okay, so you can basically eat one banana. So 20 to 50 grams of carbohydrate is allowed. A banana is around 30 grams of carbohydrate. So whilst it might feel good the first few days, sometimes sort of that you can get irritability, you can get brain fog, you might feel a bit sick. Okay, this is all natural because that process to break down fat to provide energy for your brain, for your body, is a slower process than breaking down glycogen to provide, glucose or carbohydrate. Okay, so that's basically, in terms of weight loss, I don't think this is long-term superior than any other interventions. In terms of metabolic benefits, they're doing more research around Alzheimer's, cognitive health, because as we age, our ability to metabolize carbohydrate or glucose in the brain does go down. And they're thinking that if you put someone on a keto diet, that you may prevent that cognitive decline. It was traditionally used as well to help manage blood sugar regulation for people with type 2 diabetes. So some promising stuff around those different diseases with the keto diet. Sometimes, though, I've seen people do really unhealthy things with keto diet where, you really need to consider where you're getting those fats from. Make sure you're not getting them from a high saturated fat diet, lots of processed meats, cream, butter, cheese, because that's going to increase your cholesterol. That's risk for heart disease or atherosclerosis. Okay. So, I think in the short term, okay, but, a lot of people find it hard to stick to these strict diets. Atkins diet in the 70s, this was quite famous, or high protein diets, which consists of getting protein from 25 to 30% or more of your calories from protein. And that can be, all these things here. So meat, chicken, tofu, salmon, eggs, milk, yogurts, these are, legumes, edamame beans. These are all high protein foods, milk, protein supplements as well. And, the reason for having higher protein in your meal, yes, it helps with reducing hunger, increased satiety. It does take more energy to break down protein, keeps you feeling fuller for longer, but it also supports your muscle. Okay, so as I said, as we age, especially women, we're losing muscle. So having sufficient amounts of protein, this is really important. Okay, 0.75 to 8.8 grams per kilogram of body weight is what the recommended is as you age and get older. And if you're trying to lose weight through calorie restriction, 1 to 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight. Sometimes women struggle to get sufficient protein whilst also reducing their calories, but obviously I can help with that, and that's what I do, tailored personalized meal plans for my clients. Another popular weight loss approach is the very low calorie diet, aka the shakes. So usually it's reducing your calories to 800 or less. It does lead to rapid weight loss, but you should make sure that your shakes are fortified with vitamins, because you can lead to nutritional deficiencies. You're probably going to lose a little bit of muscle. Rapid weight loss can also result in bone loss also. You should be doing it under medical supervision, and not longer than 12 weeks is recommended. Okay, usually it consists of replacing 1 or 2 meals a day with a shake. But I do think the quicker that it comes off, once you stop, it's going to go back on. And the same with the other diets that we've just spoken about. When you're looking at weight loss outcomes over 12 months, one is not really better than the other. Even like low carbohydrate diets, yes, there was some evidence that they could be better in the long term. But some women, really need to have carbs. They don't function without having carbs or pasta. I have clients that are like that. So, you've got to tap into your body and what you're going to be able to adhere to in the long term. Okay, so these are all, I think, one that you can stick to is number one important. I don't think, you've got to look at the goals and the time frame in which you want to lose weight, but you've also got to have the strategy. I call it the diet after the diet. So you have the weight loss goal, the diet, but okay, how are you going to be maintaining that weight once you've lost it? What are you doing after to prevent the regain? Okay, because you've got these things going on in your body which will really drive that weight to come back on. The other thing as well, yes, predominant weight that you're losing is fat. It's coming, from your fat tissue. So your fat is just not, yes, it's a storage organ, but it also produces a number of hormones. There's lots of remodeling. When we gain weight, these fat cells become angry and inflamed, and fat starts spilling over into these other tissues such as muscle. And I know there was someone in the group who asked about, having a surgical procedure and how to lose, I think it was 10 kilos. Something like the shake diets, yes, are recommended often for patients before they go under, bariatric surgery. That's to make the surgery safer, reduce that fat around the organs. But, usually if you're losing more weight before bariatric surgery, you have less better outcomes because you've already lost a significant amount of weight. Okay, so muscle you can lose as well, and just be mindful. Bariatric and diet, actually rapid weight loss can lead to losses in bone mineral density. So that's probably a lot to take in, and maybe I'm making you feel a little bit deflated here because I don't have the magic solution for you when it comes to lifestyle or behavioral interventions. But we know on average, probably 8 to 10% over 12 months is achievable through lifestyle interventions. When we're looking at exercise alone, sorry to disappoint you, because I have, people who come to see me thinking, we're mapping out a strategy. They go, no, I think my diet's pretty good. I'm just going to exercise more. Over 12 months, exercise alone, it is very hard to create that energy deficit day after day. The easier approach is reducing your calories. And there's different methods that we can apply to optimize your outcomes, to slow the regain, to maintain that weight afterwards. But that's where you have to book in with me if you want to find out about those things. The other thing, 2 to 3 kilos over probably 12 months, that's what you're going to lose in terms of weight loss if you're just doing exercise alone. It comes into play more importantly after you've lost the weight, to maintain that muscle and to keep that weight off. Okay, so keeping the exercise up, super important once you've lost the weight. The other thing with exercise as well is it does complicate things because, do you ever find that when you exercise, you're actually super bloody hungry afterwards? And that's because you're getting changes in appetite hormones. Your muscles are repairing. It can complicate things and make it really hard to keep that consistent energy deficit. So, I think exercise does complicate things. Most of it is, I think, coming from getting really perfect with your lifestyle and diet. And there's lots of strategies you can do around that, putting them all together, if that makes sense. So when we're looking at the popular weight loss drugs, there's probably quite a few now on the market. And they differ in their route of administration. So are you taking it orally, or you're injecting once a day or once a week? Most of them work through targeting brain neurotransmitters to reduce hunger, increase satiety, and decrease food reward. We've got Orlistat, which blocks fat absorption. So other than that one, most of them are working on neurotransmitters. Okay, so we've got noradrenaline, serotonin, and dopamine to suppress appetite. We've got other ones that are working through reward centers in the brain. That, you know, some people might be emotional eaters or get cravings or things like that. So it depends on your situation which drug is best suited to you. The more recent one, the semaglutide, so Wegovy and Ozempic, these are your GLP-1 receptor agonists, okay? So these lower food intake while also slowing digestion, but they also have been used for type 2 diabetes medications because they enhance insulin secretion, okay? So they sort of have like a dual effect. So this is this article is a recent article published in Lancet, and it basically shows all your different medical, and it talks surgical interventions as well in this top paper. It's a top medical journal. But just if we're focusing on the anti-obese medications, we've got you know, a variety, and it depends on what country that you're in, whether they've been approved for use or not, and what the selection criteria in order to access these drugs or be prescribed the drugs. Often some of the more latest ones, the GLP receptor agonists, might only be you know, administered or prescribed when you're improving diet and with exercise, okay? Because you've got to look at short and long-term effects. So most, probably 2 to 4% body weight loss over a 12-week period. And, you know, there are fewer studies looking at the long-term effects, but I think maybe around 10 or 12% over 4 years. So that's a problem. I think a lot of people don't realize. They think I'm just going to take this, lose the weight, and stop taking them. Sorry to deflate things for you, but when you stop taking these weight loss drugs, you just regain the weight, okay? So you need to look at it for long-term use to manage your weight, but also be improving your lifestyle, diet, and exercise. And, you know, as little weight loss, like with Orlistat, it's 4% over the year body weight loss. And I think the highest here was around 12.5%. Most of them 6% body weight loss, and these are over at least a year. With the SELECT trial, they were losing over 10% body weight loss. Probably 2/3 of people respond to these weight loss drugs in clinical trials. And when we're looking at significant or clinically significant weight loss, it's considered, you know, at 5% to reduce the risk of those comorbidities that we talked about at the start. So cardiovascular disease, diabetes, you know, fatty liver disease. Okay, these are reducing 5% to 10% even body weight loss reduces risk of these disease. So I hope that makes sense. As you can see, we've got a range of them here. I'm just making sure I haven't missed anything, because I really, you know, I think the hype around these weight loss drugs, and I've even had clients, potential clients come to me, ask like, it's not working for me, it's not responding. My friend lost 10 or 12% body weight loss. It hasn't done anything for me. Everybody responds differently. Some of the side effects, gastrointestinal issues, nausea, feeling sick. I know some people just can't tolerate them very well. So, you know, you need to think about these things. If you're wanting to lose them, use them in the short term, once you go off and regaining that weight, that's no good for your mental health either, especially if you've got issues around body image, which most of us do, or disordered eating. There's a probably not good approach for you. So combination therapy with the drugs, so improve lifestyle, diet, and exercise. Okay, so when we're talking about bariatric surgery, we've got a range of options. I've done most of my research on the sleeve, where you're cutting out 80% of the stomach to reduce the amount of food that's going into your body. So most of that weight that is lost, it happens between from surgery, probably 3 months, and then a bit more at 6 months, and then probably only 5 or 10% of people have significant weight loss beyond that 6 months. most people will experience some regain, but in terms of over the long term, this is probably the most powerful in terms of weight loss outcomes. 25 to 30% weight loss in 12 months. The endoscopic procedures like the balloons, a lot less, maybe 10% in 6 months. I do know of people as well who use bariatric surgery and then they will have the anti-obese medications as well. So, using these therapies together are proving to be, what's required for that long-term sustainability of keeping that weight off. So I wanted to include this as well. So this was another top article in Nature's review out of drug discovery. And what this study has actually done is compared all the different types of weight loss interventions. So in red here, you've got bariatric surgery. In blue, you've got diet and exercise. And then you've got all the anti-obese medications here. So they are proving to be a bit more effective. I would say diet, we can get people 8-12% body weight loss in maybe 12 to 16 weeks and keeping that off maybe 3 to 6 months, but you need that ongoing support, putting exercise in there, improving your diet, to really keep that weight off. And there is evidence around that with that multidisciplinary team and support. You can have sustained weight loss outcomes. Okay, so if your body mass index is, the average weight probably of women undergoing bariatric surgery is around 120 or probably 140 kilos. So once your BMI, probably severe obese, 38 and above, it could be quite challenging to get that significant amount of weight off with just diet and exercise alone. What these weight loss medications and other approaches do, they provide a powerful tool to support you, to give you confidence that it's coming off, suppressing the appetite so you're not thinking about food all the time. So they're a good tool while you make these other lifestyle changes, reducing stress levels, improving your diet, start incorporating exercise, okay? But getting to the root cause of this can be challenging, but it's not a quick fix approach. Sometimes you might have managed or struggled with your weight your whole life. There might have been traumatic events that have happened that have contributed, but it's bit by bit unpacking this and getting the right support, right people in your team. But it's not an overnight or a 4 or an 8 week program, because you're probably going to end up back where you started with, even heavier weight as well because of this weight cycling and these adaptive responses going on in the body. And, there's evidence as well when we become too restrictive with what we eat and what we put in our mouths, we obsess over it more and we have like binge episodes also. So that's why it's really important to play the long game. Think about your goals, but think about, okay, I want to lose this amount of weight, start with the first 5 and then go from there. Okay, so you've tried everything, you're wondering like what the heck is going on with my body. Just remember that one size fits none. Okay, we're moving now into a in research, personalized nutrition, personalized medicine, precision medicine. So where you're looking at individuals' profiles, because including my research has been focused all around why does this person do better than the other? Why does this person regain more weight than the other? Okay, there are so many factors, as you can see here: physical activity, exercise levels, eating behavior, mood, psychiatry, depression, anxiety, stress, family history, deficiencies in nutrition. Okay, so this is just showing the variation in weight loss patterns, and you see the spread as soon as someone undergoes bariatric surgery or diet, you get this big spread in how well someone does. And, now we can start taking, blood samples or tissue samples to really look at the metabolic response. So really start to characterize individuals to better understand these individual responses. Then you can tailor diet or exercise interventions, or maybe fast track someone to bariatric surgery, improve patient selection to optimize outcomes. Okay, but we're still, this is happening, but we're not it all established. It's a new area of research. It's, you know, just evolving. So as I said before, physical activity and exercise, super important. Most of us are sitting down all day in an office job. The recommendations are 150 to 300 minutes of exercise per week. But if we're going to, use exercise only to try and lose weight, you're probably only going to achieve 2 to 3 kilos over that 12 months. Incorporate low intensity as well as strength-based exercise is super important. Improving bone health, improving muscle strength is going to support your metabolism, even leading post-menopause. So rather than look at the latest diet fad, look at the improving your dietary pattern. So the Mediterranean diet, I'm just giving one example here of, there's a lot of research around the Med diet and its benefits. Plant-based foods has some cheeses, fishes, some wine, olive oil, reduce cardiovascular disease risk. It's an inflammatory diet, so to speak, all the really good fats, which is going to help with slowing down aging, but very cardioprotective diet. Okay, so changing the dietary pattern, I think is super important. Incorporating lots of vegetables, looking at and fiber, gut health, getting sufficient amounts of protein. That should be the focus. So once you get the foundation right, then you can start trialing different methods. But being aware of those 3 phases is super important, and having that plan after you've lost the weight, okay? Because it's bloody exhausting. It's exhausting for women to be on this cycle of losing, regaining, okay? And that's not good for long-term outcomes anyway, and we know that from research. So through all my years of experience, as well as working with women in the consultancy business, I've developed an online program. It's only $297. I've just released this like a month ago, and it basically has 10 training modules, everything from circadian rhythm and meal timing to how to eat to support your hormones, regulate blood sugar levels for more energy, how, protein-rich meal plans. There's over 20 different cheat sheets in there. So from 200-calorie snack ideas to how to manage your stress, little 5-minute training videos. There's 10 meal plans, all for $297. So I call it the ultimate wellness guide for women over 40. There's menopause and perimenopause sections in there as well. The meal plans and the strategies done. So we first start with the 3-week metabolic reset, I call it. So there's a metabolic reset component in there. There's tailored meal plans to maintain your weight, as well as kickstart the weight loss process too. And for a limited time, I'm offering one-on-one sessions for anyone who purchases this, so you can really get the most out of it, okay, and personalize it to your needs. So if you want to book in your free 15-minute chat with me, scan the QR code and, really kickstart, get to the bottom, have a strategy of where you're going, what you want to achieve, because that's super important, okay? So rather than going on the next juice cleanse or the next fad diet, get really clear, cut through the BS and the fluff and the misinformation. I've shared with you the science today, and the facts of, multiple different approaches that people try and lose weight. It is complex, and you've got to really think about, living your life, loving your body, living your life, and living healthier, okay? Because most of us over 40, we're only halfway through our lives, and, an 8-week program is not, it's going to kickstart you, but, you've got to think lifestyle transformation. And I've just got testimonials here, from all my beautiful clients. So book in your call today and join my private Facebook group. Any questions, happy to answer. Sharing.
Thank you for your presentation. It was wonderful. It was really, really good. So I love that you have given us a lot of information there, explaining everything that you have there. I'm sure that the people who are watching the replay will actually ask us even more questions. I know that this is the school pickup hours, so a lot of them that they may not be able to watch it live, but that's okay. This is a replay here. I will actually upload it into YouTube, actually share the replay. Please also share with me those links that you have, and then I'm going to put it into the comments as well in the show note. Thank you once again, Dr. Haley, for sharing your expertise with us.
Thank you, Martha. Thanks for having me, and I hope it's provided some insight for you wondering, what's the perfect diet? And there really is none. It's one that you can comply and adhere to and enjoy doing.
Definitely. Thank you. So thank you once again for joining us on Knowledge is Power Thursday. I look forward to seeing you again in the near future. Bye again.